Hello, this is Tanuki PC Gaming, and while I'm waiting for Railway Empire, I thought it would be fun to take another look at Railroad Tycoon 3. So I've just recently gotten back into it and kind of gotten the swing of things. I'm going to be playing the Texas Tea scenario, and I'm going to be focused on industrializing eastern Texas. I'll be modeling my company after that of John Kirby, who was a lumber baron, and so I will follow his lead, follow his example by putting down a lumber mill first thing. So this will be the Kirby Lumber Company. I'm going to take all the money I can get to start out with. My company logo will be this. And I'm going to start in Beaumont because I believe that's where the logs are, but of course I better confirm that. Yeah, so there are plenty of logging camps up north of Beaumont, and there's this port, I guess. It's not the same as the regular port. It's like a magical vortex that sucks up any kind of good and keeps the prices high around Beaumont. So I guess that represents shipping out to the rest of the country or something, and it's a little odd, but I'm going to take advantage of it. So I need more money before I can even build a lumber mill, therefore I'm issuing bonds. And then I'm ready to put down my mill. I'm going to put it... If I put it here, it might cause problems later, sort. I think I can get away with putting it all the way up here. So that's what I'm going to do. And then there's really nothing to do but run a bunch of time and try to buy my stock as soon as I can. A couple of competing companies are going to spring up. One of them will be running a rail from Fort Worth to Dallas. The other one, I'm hoping, will take the potentially profitable Austin to San Antonio route. That's how I usually play this scenario. But I wanted to try something a little bit different this time. So we shall see what the computer chooses to do. Now my company is likely to do pretty well because this is a pretty safe way to start. Obviously I have access to the logs I need. And they're all going to start moving downstream and reach my lumber mill. That process works out pretty consistently, so I'm not too worried about it. Oh, there's already a lumber mill up here, it would seem, in Dallas. Okay, so if they run a rail to Sherman even, or especially Texarkana, that lumber mill could be very successful. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. It looks like, unfortunately, the computer chose to take this relatively unpromising connection here, so we can pretty much forget about that company. I would actually like to see the AI develop the rail networks and let me focus more on industry. I didn't mean to close that quite so quickly, but there's not a lot to see. This early on, my factory is somewhat profitable, I suspect. Okay, growing prosperity. That means my stock price has gone up. That means I can purchase it. Yes, on margin. So I'm now in quite a bit of debt. I have $46,000 of debt and $141,000 of stock because my financiers discount the value of that stock in terms of what they'll use it for collateral. I only have $28,000 of purchasing power. And if my purchasing power drops to 0, then I'm in trouble. Basically, that would mean that my creditors would demand that I sell the stock and pay off the loan that I've taken out to borrow it or to buy it. So that's really how the individual stock, increasing the wealth of your individual character works. You need to make sure that your purchasing power never drops too low. So I'm not going to buy more stock as soon as it's possible, probably. There's no need to be extremely aggressive with that. Nevertheless, the company's doing pretty well. It's piling up money. Here's the end of a year, and I'm making somewhat consistent profits. Now, of course, I also need a market for my lumber. Here are the logs. They're now stacking up nicely. And here's the map for lumber itself. Oh, that's interesting. So somebody has put down a toy factory. If I'd been more attentive, I would have seen that already and noticed that it's actually, this plan is going to work out even better than usual. But because of the vortex, I call it, I don't really have a lot to worry about with regard to my first factory there. Okay, so there's an oil refinery in San Antonio. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Last time I tried to mess with oil, it turned out to be a problem because the oil refinery was in Houston, and John Kirby had an oil business out of Houston. He had a Houston oil company. But in this game, there's demand for oil at this port, and that means that it sucks up all the oil and there's none left to refine. So we'll just let others export it. Okay, I can buy more stock. I'll go ahead and do that. It's not always the best idea to buy stock during boom times, but I'll do it anyway. What is a good idea is borrowing money. So I could wait until my interest rate goes down, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and issue bonds. This is how much money I started the game with, so I feel confident that that's enough to go ahead and start a rail line. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a rail line from Beaumont to Houston. I need to be able to get my goods to market, and this will allow me to do that. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. Actually laying track can be a little tricky in this game, but I think I've reacquired the hang of it. Maybe not. Maybe not at all. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so I have made it through Houston. I still have $1 million available. And of course, I need 2 stations. I'm going to use the big one in Houston, because I don't want to mess around. And I can probably get away with a medium station in Beaumont. On the other hand, I like getting the large station right off the bat sometimes, just because then I don't have to find a place for it later. And I'm pretty confident that I'll have enough money, so I'll just do that. Okay, I will need this thing, maintenance facility I guess it's called, and a water tower. That's about all I need to service my trains, and I'm going to start running from Beaumont to Houston. I like to run 6 cars, and I'm going to try to use the consolidation for most of my trains. There's an electric plant in Oklahoma City, but I don't really care about that. My stock split 2 for 1. That probably means it's doing pretty well. And time is just whipping by. The next thing I'm probably going to do is borrow more money, because we always want to borrow money, especially at 6%. Even before I do that, I'm going to pause and pay back this loan. I don't like having an 11% loan. The 8% doesn't bother me as much. So I'm going to issue bonds at 6. Issue bonds at 6. Okay. I now have $1 million again. I'm going to use it to upgrade this lumber mill. I have 89,000 in purchasing power, 131 in negative 131 in debt, I guess it is. So I will go ahead. It's a little dangerous buying during a booming economy. On the other hand, once this train starts operating, I feel like my profits are only going to increase further. So I will go ahead and do that. I like to get out ahead of the ownership game. I like to own a large percentage of my company. And let's just quickly look at that. I have a little less than a quarter at this point. So that's pretty good considering I started with 1/11th, I guess. Alright, back to high speed. I have one train, and it's pretty much full. I probably tapped out my industrial potential for the moment in Beaumont. Wait, what is this? Okay, my unpromising competitor is actually doing something. The economic boom is fading. Oh, Dallas-Fort Worth is already connected to Waco, so that's good. I'm mainly looking for industrial opportunities, and specifically lumber. I could consider buying this toy factory, but it's profitable, so it's going to be really expensive, and there's no need to do that. My profits have increased substantially. We're still in a prosperous time, though. And I'm doing a little bit better than my competitors, but not by a whole lot. Now, I probably do want to go connect out to Austin. That's an important line to pick up. So I will just issue more bonds and do that. Even at 8%, sure. That should be enough money. And I can tell just by the fact that the track is green that it's doing just fine. But I would like to be able to run 8-wheeler trains. Oh, nice. The computer just connected to Austin. That looks pretty ugly, actually. Oh, I'm going to back up on both of those. I usually pause when I'm doing this, and I probably should now. Okay. So I will now start from Austin. This is very convenient for me because they just completed a station that I can now use. So it actually saves me money. And I'm sort of, it's almost a pity to do it this way because I did say I want the computer to do well. In fact, I'm going to back up. I'm going to use their track, which is not a good idea. The reason I'm doing this is because I actually want to assist, or at least not hinder, my computer opponents. And if I build off of here, they will not expand south out of Austin. And I want them to be able to do that because I want my competition to be as strong as possible. This also means that I'm going to be using a little bit of their track whenever I run a train to Austin, and they'll get some royalties on that, I guess. Which, again, is exactly the opposite of what you want to do if you're trying to win the game as quickly as possible or something. But my goal is specifically to be successful in industry and to allow the computer every opportunity to do its best in the rail game. Just because I think it's more interesting. And it's not that often that the computer succeeds. So this, however, is a very promising start. And even these guys, I guess, are going to make it work. Okay, more power to them. This track was fairly flat, not quite perfect, but I think it's good enough for an 8-wheeler. I thought about just doing all consolidations, but that's just not as much fun. And I expect this to be a very heavy traffic route, so I will start with 2 trains. I still have plenty of money in the bank. They're carrying a lot of meat, which is hardly surprising because livestock is the main industry in Texas at this point. And I don't even want to get into that. I will probably do clothing. Let's just take a look. I haven't even looked, not that. I haven't looked at the map yet for clothing, but there's cotton, and there are a couple clothing factories already. But if I need to, I can basically screw them over by setting up a factory closer to the cotton. And then they have no way of getting it, really. Interestingly, there's a lot of cotton around Houston. More than usual. So I might even set up a factory here. Textile mill. You can set them up basically anywhere. So I'll take advantage of that. We'll assume that it's a company town and somehow I'm able to bring in enough labor and whatever else is needed to make that work. But for now, I'd really like to stay focused on lumber, and I'm connected to enough markets. On the other hand, lumber's a little more saturated than usual. This is probably a furniture factory. What do we have? That's just a house? Okay. Well, there's also a furniture factory. At some point, I would like to buy this. And it will stay cheap because it's not getting lumber, despite all the logs around. Well, no, I guess they're all a little further north. So if I really want to stay focused on the lumber game for a while, I could even build a second lumber mill in Beaumont, or I could build it in... I'd like to keep all these logs going more or less the same direction, I guess, so I'll just do that. I don't think that one lumber mill can possibly use all this up. So, back to full speed. Oh, I'll consider buying more stock. Yeah, this is prime time to buy, right before it splits. A paper mill opened in Austin. Oh, that is the other thing. Maybe I should make a paper mill before anything else. I could buy that paper mill that just opened very cheaply. Paper mills require pulpwood. And of course, wherever there are logs, there's pulpwood, because they both come from logging camps. There's my stock split. And yeah, I'm out competing my competitors. Industry is a large portion of my income, which I like. And I guess there's no reason not to build a paper mill right in Beaumont. And I think it's cheap enough. Yeah, I've got lots of money available now. I'll just put it right next to this one. And I'm still moving along pretty briskly in terms of the game's pace. If I look at my crop, or my trains, it looks like, surprisingly, this one is empty at the moment. Loading up in Austin. So Austin to Houston is carrying quite a bit of cargo, but the return trip is not really. Now, one route that I do want to take is up north, because that's where I can get to more logs and do even more lumber production. Plus, every city I connect to makes me quite a bit of money in its own right. I don't want to go to Mexico. If I need to, I'll have money to do that later, I'm sure. So I will start here. And connect out to Houston. I think I'm only going to need a medium station here. I don't need another facility because I already have one here. And there, yeah, Houston is sort of my main hub now because I have maintenance in either direction. Put down a couple of those, and I'm ready to run a train. That looked really flat, so I'm going to stick with the 8-wheeler. And it's taking the meat that came from Austin up to a new market. The economy's slowing. If it slows anymore, I'll buy more stock. I might just do that anyway. My profits are pretty high, but actually the Dallas-Fort Worth Rail is doing better than I am, so that's nice. Looks like they have already connected down to San Antonio, and there's a recession, so I said I would buy more stock. It's probably a good time to do that. Yeah, definitely. In fact, I think I can shift-click and buy a whole bunch of stock at once. Not sure if I can do that again. Yeah. Okay, I now have over a third of the company, it looks like. But less than half. Once I get to half, it's not quite as important to me. I'm going to pause. Recession. That's fine. I'm still making money. I'll just stick with the stone bridges because I don't really want to mess with all my different options. And they have some advantage, though I don't remember exactly what. Okay, I'm going up to Shreveport. Shreveport's a pretty big city. Oh, I meant to pause. Large station. I think, yeah, Houston to Shreveport. I can probably get away with not having another maintenance facility. We'll find out, I guess. I'm going to run a train directly from Shreveport to Houston. And because it's such a long route, I'm going to run a second train, but I'll have this one stop in Nacogdoches. So I already have one train that's just going back and forth like that. I'll probably add a stop to that at some point. I really don't quite have enough stations in Eastern Texas to make it viable yet, and I have a bunch of money I'm sitting on. So I'm going to plan my industrial activities here. We have 2 lumber mills now? No, furniture factories, that's what I meant. There are 2. Shreveport's not a bad place for a furniture factory because, oh, there's already a lumber mill in Texarkana. It's probably even profitable. 1.9 million. That's a little bit more than what they cost to build initially, but it is a good location, and I kind of want it just because that's sort of what I am after overall. Now I could also just try to starve it out by building my own. Apparently they are able to sell that lumber. Yeah, it's coming downstream. If I want to get these furniture factories, I guess I'd better do that quickly. Let's see if they're even still cheap. 1.3 million. And 1.3 million. They are. I would need bonds to get both of them. The lumber mill would go up in price, but I can get around that. I'll buy this one straight off. I probably cannot borrow. Oh, I do have an A credit rating. 10%. The economy's just so bad that it's hard to get loans. I might do it anyway, though, just because now seems to be like a good time to buy up some stuff. So I'll do that. That lumber mill. I would need a really big station. If they had built it a little closer to the river, I would be happier. Maybe I'll just buy the other furniture factory instead. But I don't want to invest too much in any one thing, just in case that goes badly. Now, I hadn't really planned on going any further out of Shreveport, but from Shreveport up to Texarkana would be a good idea if I hadn't cut myself off with poor placement. Yeah. Well, not quite sure what I was thinking. But it won't be too terrible because I'll just do what I've done before and come out of Dallas. So I left them Austin, and they made use of that. They went down to San Antonio, that was good. But really, I want Eastern Texas. So I'm pretty happy to do it like this. Now, this is investing a lot more into my rail infrastructure. But I kind of need to do that. Yeah, and I've done it sort of the ugly way. But so be it. Alright, I don't have the money to do much else at the moment other than just kind of develop what I just invested in. So, Dallas to Shreveport. 8-wheeler, yeah. And because they're both relatively large cities, I'm going to do the same thing back the other way. And then I'm also going to take advantage of some of these smaller places. So Dallas to Tyler to Nacogdoches and back. Okay, I still have quite a bit of money. I feel like I should do something with it. I may as well finish out my Eastern Texas rail assets. I'll connect up to Huntsville. I want that last house, apparently. And probably not worthwhile to just do this. Okay. So I have quite a few trains running along this sort of central corridor now. It's time to acquire more money. Could have made my life easier if I hadn't put my Shreveport station at such a bad angle. But it'll be fine. I do want to get up to Texarkana, though, because that's where there's more logging to be done. Okay, this time, I think I'm going to want to cross this river. There are cities up here that I can get to, and I don't want to get into a Shreveport type situation where I don't have the option of doing it later. That looks pretty good. It has access to a maintenance facility out of Dallas. And go ahead and run the train. Toy factory. That's still pretty cheap for a toy factory, isn't it? Did this just spring up? Oh, now I have to buy it. 10%. 10%. Alright, I am paused. I need to see what a toy factory costs, I guess. 2.1 million, yeah. So that's brand new. It seems that the computer is laying down a lot of new industries, and it's sort of an exploit to buy them when they're brand new and really cheap. But I'm just going to exploit and do that. Now, I'm less excited about this lumber mill. It is profitable, I guess. You can't argue with success. And it's going to start feeding my toy factory. And it's got all these logging camps that are so nearby that you really kind of can't go wrong. Let's see how my paper factory is doing. Probably alright. Does it have a big stack of pulpwood? Because if it does, I should expand it. Yeah, I should. Okay. So I'm making really good profits, considering it's a recession. I suppose I should see how many years have gone by. Yeah, 9 already. So this is a pretty quick playthrough. I'm eating up time really fast. But I don't mind that. I shouldn't borrow more money at such high interest rates if I can help it, but it's just too tempting sometimes when factories spring up and I need them right away. Okay, I'm going to upgrade my paper mill. That seems like a good thing for the Kirby Lumber Company to be doing. I could even make a second lumber mill. If we look at the market, I have kind of saturated Beaumont, but there are these other factories nearby that demand lumber. Not quite sure what this one is. Can't even see it. This, a furniture factory. It's been around long enough to be making a profit. It has a nice big stockpile. My own furniture factory that I bought a little too early. I was hoping you'd tell me. This is what I need to know. Okay, so it is starting to produce, and it is getting lumber. Although now that I have this toy factory, there's some competition. I'll probably want to start hauling in lumber, which means I need to create another lumber mill, probably to take advantage of these logs up here. So I think I'll just make a company town up here, and yeah, just do it like that. I want just a little more money before that happens. Okay, and the economy just crashed. Maybe my stock price crashed with it. A little bit. It probably won't go too much lower, so I'm going to buy aggressively. Maybe do that one more time. That pushed my stock price back up, of course. It might dip down again, but I feel like the fundamentals of my company are just solid enough that I'm not in any real danger. Although my debt relative to my purchasing power is pretty alarming. But if the economy weren't already at rock bottom, I would definitely be concerned. Alright, that's enough cash. I'm going to go ahead and build the company town I was talking about. So I'm going to come out to here, and I want to know what the market for logs and pulpwood looks like. These are going to be pretty cheap to buy, so before I allow them to become profitable, I'm going to buy them in the middle of this depression. 140. I think that's about as cheap as they get. So I'm going to buy these up. Yep, I'll take... This is actually far enough away that I don't want it as much, and it's a little more expensive. They are relying on just hauling things in wagons or something. And all of these are going to be closer to my rail station. Now, because this is meant to catch as much lumber and such as possible, I'm going to use a large station. Actually, I don't need to do that because I'm going to build factories here rather than just try to kind of grab resources and haul them away. I'm going to draw them in with a factory. So I think I can get away with a medium station. It doesn't matter too much where I put it, I guess. Well, no, I want to be able to put the factories as close as possible to the resources. But I've sort of already done that just by where I put the station. So now I'm going to build up a little more cash and put down another lumber mill. That looks pretty good. Maybe that's better, but I also want these. Doesn't matter too much, so long as it's within the area that my station covers. And I will also need a paper mill. This costs 900,000, I'm basically there already. I could consider putting it in a slightly different place to make sure that all of my logging camps do well. Still in a depression, so I won't worry too much about that. I'm not hauling that much oil, but I'll make the requirement. Oh, interestingly, they actually branched. They didn't even use this. That's like a slap in the face. I left them that connection point, and they didn't even use it. Alright, that's how they want to be. Oh, I don't know what they called that station, but it doesn't really matter too much. I'm not running any trains out of there yet. I guess I better pause. I should consider buying my stock again, maybe? Yeah, see, it's climbing even through the recession. I already have almost half, but I want over half. My purchasing power actually increased because I drove up my stock price so much. Apparently, in the middle of this depression, people are really eager to find any sort of promising investment, and so I've generated some hype around my own company. Alright, can't do too much of that though. It is sort of risky, just in case anything bad should happen. Where am I at? I'm now at over half. That's good. That's good enough. And I've got lots of money available, so it's time to start using this. Fort Smith is what they call this place. Good enough. I don't remember if this was especially flat. I'll just do a consolidation. And they are hauling logs. That's fine. Actually, I don't really want them to haul logs. I want all the logs to stay where they are. I could fix that, but it's not actually necessary quite yet. They better not haul all of my logs away, though. Soon enough, they'll start moving out, and... Oh, I'll take a look at my industry list. That's what I'll do. I have quite a few factories that aren't up to speed yet. I'm going to organize them by purchasing price. My first lumber mill is doing very well. This toy factory, I think that's doing pretty well too, actually. This lumber mill, did I just buy that? I just made that, okay. So anyway, you sort of get an idea of what I'm trying to do with this playthrough. I'll really stay focused on Eastern Texas. If I decide to try to win the scenario, I might run from Houston along this coast down to where the coffee is, because that's one of the victory requirements. And it's the only one that I can't easily get to. I already have access to enough oil. There aren't very many coffee plantations, so that's a consideration. I would have to do it earlier rather than later. And I've already used up, what, half the time? No, only a third. Okay. Well, this is probably a pretty good stopping point. I'm in the middle of a depression, so I can't expect my profits to be that great, but overall the company's succeeding pretty nicely. Alright, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.